From Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, entitled Karma Yoga, text number 17. Yastvatma ratir eva shad. Yastvatma ratir eva shad. Atma triptas chamanavaha. Atma triptas chamanavaha. Atmanyeva cha santushtas. Atmanyeva cha santushtas. Tasya karyang na vidyate. Tasya karyang na vidyate. Yastvatma ratireva shad. Atma triptas cha manavaha. Atmanyeva cha santushtas. Tasya karyang na vidyate. Yastvatma ratireva shad. Atma triptas cha manavaha. Atmanyeva cha santushtas. Tasya karyam na vidyate. Yastvatma ratireva shad. Atma triptas cha manavaha. Atmanyeva santushtas. Tasya karyam na vidyate. Anyone else? Okay. Yaha, one who. Two, but. Atmarati, taking pleasure in the self. Eva, certainly. Shat, remains. Atmatriptaha, self-illuminated. Cha, and. Manavaha, a man. Atmani, in himself. Eva, only. Cha, and. Santushtaha, perfectly situated. Tasya, his. Karyam, duty. Na, does not. Vidyate, exist. But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who's satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. A person who is fully Krishna conscious and is fully satisfied by his acts in Krishna consciousness no longer has any duty to perform. Due to his being Krishna conscious, all impiety within is instantly cleansed, and effect of many, many thousands of yajna performances. By such clearing of consciousness, one becomes fully confident of his eternal position in relationship with the Supreme. His duty thus becomes self-illuminated by the grace of the Lord, and therefore he has no longer any obligations to the Vedic injunctions. Such a Krishna conscious person is no longer interested in material activities and no longer takes pleasure in material engagements like wine, women, and similar infatuations. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Taraham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So this verse, Lord Krishna's he's changing the topic, so to speak. In the previous topics, the last 6 verses, and last week I think we covered verse number 16. So last verse has been talking about performing duties, right? Prescribed duties, performing sacrifices, right? But here in this verse, he's talking about someone who is Atma Rati, who takes pleasure in the self. And then he says Atma Tripta, self-illuminated, and who is self-satisfied. So such a person has no duties to perform. So when we think of duties, we see that persons, it's recommended to perform sacrifice, so that one gradually understands his position as the servant of God, right? So for that person, performing, he has duties to perform, so that he can gradually clear away his false identification and gradually understand his true identification as an eternal spirit soul, part and parcel of God, and the servant of God. Right? On the other hand, this verse talks about a person who already understands his position as the eternal servant of God, who already is situated in the self. Now, the living entity is simultaneously part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, right? He's a part. Mamai Vangsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha. He's a part of God, but he's also has his individuality. Natve datum nachudanasam datvam nime janadipa nachaivanavavishama sarve vayamatapram. Never was there a time, Krishna says, when I did not exist, nor you nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So Krishna's proclaiming his individuality and the living entity's individuality. Now, being situated in the self, taking pleasure in the self, understanding what we are, eternal servants of the Supreme Lord, and taking pleasure in that. By rendering service to Krishna, right? One gets happiness by doing service to Krishna. It's like you have experience, you go to the temple and the kirtan, and you chant, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. So chanting the holy name in kirtan, that is service to Krishna, right? It's not like, and when you're doing that, it's not like there's something else that you should be doing. You're already doing what you should be doing, and therefore you're enjoying that, right? If you chant the holy name of Krishna because Krishna's name and Krishna are non-different, you derive some satisfaction, some bliss from that. And you can go on chanting. Sometimes on Ekadasis we have the 24-hour kirtan. So you can go and chant for hours and devotees don't get tired. Right? But you can't chant some material sound vibration for hours and hours and not get tired, right? Because it's material. How long can you go on chanting some cinema song? Right? Not for very long, and you'll become tired. you want to chant some other cinema song. Okay? So this shows us that this is service to Krishna, right? Chanting His holy name, non-fulfillment. And when you're doing that, right, there's nothing else for you to perform. We see that society is divided into different occupations. There's the Brahmin, the learned persons. They are concerned with Brahman, right? They're concerned with the Supreme. And they have their duties. They perform rituals for people's purification, right? And then we have the Kshatriyas. The Kshatriyas manage and govern. Right? We have the Vaishyas that organize the economy. They grow food, and they trade and they take care of cows. And we have the Shudras who work and assist the other classes, right? And they work under them. So these are the duties, the occupational duties. And by performing them in the mood of sacrifice for the Supreme Lord, gradually there's a purification that takes place in the heart of the living entity. So the verses before are encouraging one to perform sacrifice, perform one's duty. But at the same time, in this verse, Krishna is explaining that for one who's already situated in the self, who understands their position as the eternal servant of Krishna, they don't really have any duty to perform, right? So this guides us to where we want to go. We shouldn't think by after reading this verse that one who takes pleasure in the self and whose life is dedicated to self-realization and who's situating the self only, oh, that's me. I'm pretty much like that. Yeah. Right? We should have some honesty about ourselves, right? When it gets really stuffy in a room, we think, oh, turn on the fan, right? Or where's the air conditioning? Right? When we're hungry, where's the prasadam, right? So how much are we actually situated in the self, right? And how much are we actually situated in the bodily concept of the self, right? That we need to honestly appraise ourselves of our situation, and as we and then we'll know what we have to strive for. Right? We shouldn't delude ourselves into thinking that we're on a platform that we're not really on. That won't be beneficial for us. But rather it behooves us to understand where we're at in relationship to this verse and what to work for. And until that time, then we have a duty to perform, right? And by performing those duties, and there's different motivations for doing a duty, right? There's 4 types of people that come to Krishna consciousness: Ator, Jignasi, Authority, Jnani, Bharatar, Shavaha. Somebody's in distress, somebody's in need of money, somebody's inquisitive, or someone's in knowledge, right? So this is a reason why someone may come to Krishna consciousness. And that's all right. That's certainly, it's better to come to Krishna for your distress, our inquisitiveness, our economic development, than it is not to come to Krishna. It's pious. But what this verse is talking about is it's someone that is beyond that platform, right? They're coming to Krishna because they understand service to Krishna is their constitutional position, right? And that's the way they'll become happy. Krishna consciousness is, it's kind of like either you're in Krishna consciousness or you're not. You're working for the pleasure of Krishna, or are you looking out for number one? But one who's actually understands about the self and the identity of the self, he realizes that working for the pleasure of, purely working for the pleasure of Krishna is actually looking out for the self, right? Who's illuminated in the self. What is that illumination? To know that I'm part and parcel of Krishna. That's who I am, part of Krishna. So unless I'm serving Krishna, I'm not looking out for my self-interest at all. Right? Everybody wants to enjoy, and that's why we're here in this material world, right? We have this, but where do we get that desire to try to enjoy? Well, ultimately, it comes from Krishna. Krishna is known as Anandamaya Brihasat, and he's seeking pleasure, right? So we also have that nature because we're a minute particle of Krishna, small. We also have that pleasure-seeking tendency, right? But when we mix that up with the material world manifested by the three modes of material nature according to our desire, we become confused to think that our pleasure will come from something in this material world, right? My family, my business, my community, my country, etc., 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 etc. My things, my car, right? Some people are really attached to their cars, and and so many different things, right? So self-realization means to understand that all of these things, starting from the body and all the extensions that come from the body, are actually superfluous to me. They're not part of me, right? It's not mine. I may think this is my body, and this is my wife, and these are my children. It extends. And this is my community. This is my country. Extension, right? Mine. And the occupations are there more on this line too. The lower caste is more stuck in mind, and the higher orders of life, Brahman, Kshatriya, are stuck in I. So mine, we get my possessions, right? And I am a leader of society. I am a magician. I am a poet. I am a powerful man. I am a beautiful woman. What I am. So I and mine. As soon as we're in the bodily concept of life, we're stuck in that cycle of I and mine. In the orders of life, you have to work according to our psycho-physical nature. We'll have some tendency to do some work, right? And as we work in that particular occupation that we're suited for, depending upon where we're at in terms of the material body, we're stuck more in I or we're stuck more in mine, right? So we'll have some tendency to work in that way. But Krishna consciousness means being fully Krishna conscious, means to rise above this concept of I and mine, and to understand that what is mine? And the Bhagavad Gita suggests nirmama, nothing is mine, right? I don't own anything. Can we actually say we own this body? Who did we get the body from? Our parents, right? Parents provided the body. So does the body belong to them? At the end of life, where does the body go? Well, different religions have different ways of disposing of the body. In the Vedic system, they burn the body. In the Christian Muslims, they bury the body. And in the Farsi religion, Parsis, right? They put the body up and they have the vultures come and eat it, right? Isn't there a place in Bombay where the Parsi people go and put the body and the vultures come and eat it? Right? It's called the Silent Tower or something, near the Hanging Gardens, Pera Road. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Hanging Garden. Tower of Silence, right. The vultures go. And the Parsi people had a problem because all the vultures were dying off. And why were the vultures dying off? Because people that keep buffaloes, the buffaloes get arthritis, and they were giving them big doses of one arthritis drug, right? So when the vultures ate those buffaloes that were consuming large amounts of this arthritis drug, I forget the name, it's dialectinite or something like that. Well, that would affect the liver of the vultures, and they all died off. So the Parsis were perplexed. There weren't any vultures coming to eat the dead bodies. So they also started to have to bury the bodies. But now the government has decided to ban this drug for buffaloes. But people still eat it, but buffaloes don't eat it now. So in that, if the body, it gets, put it in the ground and worms eat it. Put it in fire, the fire eats it, becomes ashes. You feed it to the vultures, it becomes stool of the vultures. So then, who owns the body? Do the worms own the body? Does the vultures? Ultimately, where does the body go to? It either goes to the vultures or the worms or the fire. So who owns the body then? Right? What is this body, anyway? What's it consist of? In Ayurveda, they talk about Kapha, Pitta, Vayu, the doshas, right? There's the three main elements: earth, water, and fire. Earth, water, fire, air, vata. So where do these things come from? Well, it's the energy that makes up the whole universe, right? Whatever we see, it's a combination of earth, water, fire, air. Isn't it? Even this book, paper, right? Some earth element, fire element there, water, air, it's here. And there's also a thing called ether, or space, right? If you minutely analyze it, you'll see that it's atoms, molecules, neutrons, electrons, protons, revolving around a nucleus, right? So this is the universe. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, right? So the body, in one sense, it belongs to the universe, because when it breaks down, the water element goes back to water, the fire element goes back to fire, the air element goes back to air, right? But yet we think that this body is me. I am this body, right? Or I am this mind, right? One famous philosopher said, I think it was Descartes, I think, therefore I am. I think, therefore I am. So the process of devotional service, in the fully Krishna conscious, fully self-realized stage, is beyond this concept of I and mine, right? The fully Krishna conscious, self-realized soul realizes that I am the servant of Krishna, and he thinks that actually Krishna is mine. That's the only thing he claims. Krishna is mine. Either Krishna is my friend, or Krishna is my master, or Krishna is my lover, or Krishna is my child, right? The Christians think that God is the Father. Our Father who art in heaven, give us our daily bread, right? And generally speaking, many religions of the world, they see God as the fatherly figure who's giving the necessities of life. We get bread, we get everything from God. And that's also pious. The Vedas try to help people realize that by performing sacrifices. You realize that the necessities of life are coming from a higher source. But bhakti, self-realization, somebody who's fully self-realized, they have a higher conception of God. They become the father of God, like Nanda Maharaj. Nanda Maharaj, he's seen how he's giving everything to Krishna, right? When you have a child, the child is, Father, give me this, Father, give me that, Father, give me that, I want this, I want that. The child even wants the moon, right? Chandramamado, right? So they take a mirror and show the moon in the mirror so the child can think, oh, I got the moon, right? So devotional service, or being fully Krishna conscious, is like that. You want to be in a position where you can give to God. Like Mother Yashoda, she's thinking, if I don't cook for Krishna, he'll get sick. I have to feed him. The Supreme Lord doesn't get sick. He doesn't need anything from us. People are offering, fruits to God, but you offer one mango, he has millions of mangoes that are available to him. What does he need with your one mango? He's not in need of anything, right? But it's for our benefit that we offer something to God, right? And as we go on offering to God, as a matter of duty, nobody's Mother Yashoda or Nanda Maharaj. But gradually we can attain that position by regularly, as a matter of duty, offering things to Krishna, right? And then gradually you offer things to Krishna out of being fully conscious that we're part and parcel of Krishna. Is that understood? Any questions about that? So let's go to the next verse. Naiva tasya kritenarto na kritaneha kaschanaha, na kascha sarvabhuteshu kaschit artha vipasrayaha. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. Purport. A self-realized man is no longer obliged to perform any prescribed duty, save and except activities in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not inactivity either, as will it be explained in the following verses. A Krishna conscious man does not take shelter of any person, man, or demigod. Whatever he does in Krishna consciousness is sufficient in the discharge of his obligation. As we see in the life of the pure devotees, we see in the life of Srila Prabhupada, being fully surrendered to Krishna, they don't have any obligation to anyone. They don't have any duty to perform as such. Right? A conditioned soul has so many duties and obligations to perform. He's striving. Either he's striving for some material benefit, or he's striving to become free from the pains and the difficulties of living in the material world. Right? Striving for something. But a self-realized soul, one who's fully Krishna conscious, he's not striving for anything. Right? He's perfectly situated. He's nothing to gain in a material sense. He's nothing to become free from, because he's situated in Krishna consciousness. But at the same time, he's very busy. He's doing things, right? Sometimes the pure devotees of the Lord are even more active than the materialists who are doing things. We see in the life of the 6 Goswamis, they were writing books, right? They were performing kirtan, and they were living under a different tree every night. They were busy. Srila Prabhupada, he would take rest at around 9:30, and Srila Prabhupada would get up at 12 o'clock. And he would immediately start translating Srimad Bhagavatam and all of these books that we're now reading, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, right? And he would work straight through till 4:30 in the morning. And then he would start chanting japa. And at 6 o'clock he would go on a walk. And when he was on the walk, one of his favorite places to walk was right here in Juhu, on Juhu Beach. And he would walk with the devotees early in the morning, and one of the devotees would read Krishna book while they were walking, and then he would comment sometimes, or he would chant, right? And then after that he would come back and greet the deity, Sri Sri Radha Rasbihari. That time they were in a shed, in a very simple temple, right? And Prabhupada would offer his obeisances to the deities, and then he would give class on the Srimad Bhagavatam. After the class, he would have a small breakfast. Used to like to eat a few, what do you call that? Chana, chickpeas, chana, soaked overnight with ginger, a little lemon, and some fruits. And then he would answer his correspondence every day. Letters were coming. That time there was no internet. The letters, real letters that he had to open, that came in the post. He would read those letters from all over the world. Devotees would be sending letters, asking questions, finding out what to do, and Srila Prabhupada would reply his correspondence, right? Always busy, never idle, right? Then he would have a massage, take a bath, have his lunch, right? He would take a small rest in the afternoon, and then again meet people. And then Bhagavad Gita in the evening. Always busy, right? So he wasn't striving for something, but always busy in the service of Krishna. That is the mentality of a Krishna conscious person. So they see their, they don't take shelter of anything in the material world, right? Whatever it is. They only take shelter. They depend completely on Krishna. And one time Srila Prabhupada explained, some newspaper reporters came to meet him and they asked him, you have such a big organization, 108 temples around the world. How do you decide who should be a president, or how do you decide all these things? So Srila Prabhupada said, I asked Krishna. And one devotee, that newspaper reporter got confused. You asked Krishna? Right? So one devotee said, well, it says in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the intelligence in man. So Krishna gives intelligence. This devotee is saying to the reporter. And Prabhupada says, what are you saying? No, I asked Krishna. So the pure devotee of the Lord is directly in touch with Krishna. Krishna is illuminating for him what to do, how to do it, when to do it. Just like in this Hare Krishna land, the deities were there. Radha Ras Bihari Mandir. Srila Prabhupada, this land, the local corporator, one Mr. Matre, he was giving a very hard time. And he was in collusion with the person who sold the land, one Mr. Nair. And they were actually trying to get the land back from Srila Prabhupada. And they went to court, and the municipality came and broke the temple, right? And one Mataji had to stand in front of the deities, otherwise they were going to try to take the deities also, Radha Ras Bihari. So it was a very difficult time. And some devotees, local devotees came, and they, because they knew that on Monday morning, that corporator would try to get a stay order, so they couldn't rebuild the temple. And they had come on Friday night, so there was 2 days, Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So they rebuilt the temple overnight. And one of our members, Mr. P.L. Shetty, he came here and he told his son, Brijmohan Shetty, go get a gun, our gun. They have a gun. They were Punjabis, they had a gun. They had a shotgun. And so these Gunda type people came that were hired by the corporator. And, he said, you come. No problem, I'm ready. He said, we'll come 50 people. And he said, no, you don't come 50, you come 100. They said, why 100? He said, because I have 100 bullets. You come 100. Right? And in that way they protected Radha Ras Bihari. And over that Saturday, Sunday, they rebuilt the temple. And we went to the court for the stay order, and the stay order was, there's a temple. Shri Shri Radha Ras Bihari ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. So this is the activity of the pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada said, as devotees, we're not interested in fighting. We could have left this place. We could have gone somewhere else. That's not our business to fight. Huh? He said, but because I asked Krishna to come here and for him to go away, Krishna would be insulted, therefore we fought. So on our own, we're not interested. But for Krishna and Krishna's reputation, respect, then the devotee can, fight like a lion. So this mentality of doing everything for the service of Krishna and not for one's own, he has nothing to do on his own accord, but he has so many things to do on account of Krishna. That's what these two verses are explaining. And so it behooves us, or it's appropriate for us to strive for Krishna consciousness. And that means to always think of Krishna, never forget Krishna. That we won't be able to do immediately. It takes some time, it takes some cultivation to be able to think of Krishna and not forget Krishna. These are the guiding principle in Krishna consciousness. To always think of Krishna and never forget Krishna. And the best way to think of Krishna is by chanting the holy name of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. As we go on chanting, our consciousness becomes purified. We become more realized about our position as being the eternal servant of God, instead of trying to enjoy this energy of God, but rather to use the energy of God in the service of God. And the more we become fixed in that consciousness, the more we'll actually not really have any material duty to perform, but yet we'll be very actively engaged in the service of Krishna. So that's the sum and substance of these two verses. Are there any questions? Comments? New Bhaktas, any verse, any questions?
My question is, how we can increase our interest in Krishna consciousness at high level?
How we can come to a high level of Krishna consciousness? Well, by practicing Krishna consciousness through regular performance of sadhana, we become purified, and we can in this way attract the attention of Krishna. Ultimately, if you want a high level of Krishna consciousness, it requires the mercy of Krishna. Krishna Kripa, right? Even if you're performing sadhana, the perfection of your sadhana will come when Krishna has mercy on you, right? So the devotees of the Lord who understand this, they pray to Krishna for his mercy. And they actually try to analyze their position, like when we read the songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He's praying to Gopinath, listen to my plea. I don't have any good qualities. I'm only chasing after lusty desires. So Gopinath, you have mercy on me. If we follow the example of the previous acharyas and try to expect the mercy of Krishna, no one went back to the spiritual world unless they got the mercy of Krishna, and no one got the mercy of Krishna unless they got the mercy of Krishna's devotee. It's like hand in hand. So it's better to aspire to serve the devotees of Krishna, because the devotees of Krishna can be even more merciful than Krishna, right? So the process of devotional service is to be very, what do you call, lalach? Greedy for mercy. You want mercy. How you can get mercy, right? And that comes by rendering service to the devotees, Krishna's pure devotees, and that way you can attract the mercy of Krishna. There's no any other way. It's a matter of kripa. This whole temple is a manifestation of Srila Prabhupada's mercy on us, so that we can render devotional service. We can see Krishna nicely dressed in the temple, and we can dance before the beautiful form of Krishna, and we can think of Krishna in that way, and we can take Krishna's prasada, which is Krishna's mercy, and in that way be absorbed in Krishna more and more. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi.